All right, 4 o'clock, so we're going to call a little bit of an audible here just for a few minutes. We will get to who said it momentarily, but David, injury report, status report for the Lions just came out 2 minutes ago, and I hate everything.
Yeah, let me give you that injury report. Jonah Jackson, questionable. Awarie, questionable. DeAndre Swift, questionable. The big one, Frank Ragnow, is listed as out.
I quit. TJ, talk to me. Questionable means probable? Maybe?
Yeah, questionable normally means good chance of playing unless, something happens on Saturday. Now, you can upgrade guys still on Saturday. You can upgrade from questionable to, probable or doubtful to questionable. You can't upgrade a guy that's out. Once you're listed out, you are done. So Frank Ragnow will not be on the field this week, which really stinks, which sucks. I mean, Evan Brown last year played well, filling into that spot, but you're weaker at two positions now, at center and right guard.
He's one of the 3-4 best centers in football. You've already lost your starting guard. Then you lost the guy who was replacing him. Now I sound like Rico. Now the strength of the team has really been hurt for the interior three.
Yeah, no, big time. I mean, that's not an easy spot to fill, and especially when you have two guys next to each other.
What did this team do to David's God? What did we do to deserve this? Seriously. Like we deal with winter, garbage roads, and no luck during football season. None.
Especially
David,
early, too. It's always early.
I mean, Mike,
last year, Decker, missing the first 8 weeks. And
think about this, Mike. If they win the game, it just makes that comeback story even better.
I know, but Rico, you know how much harder it is to do this. They could be down their entire interior line.
Yep.
Did you hear Campbell this morning, too? He said something. He was talking about the injured guys, and he said, when he was talking about Ragnow and Jonah, David, I don't know if you saw this, he said they're questionably probable, but then with like Swift and other guy, he said they're probably questionable. And it's like, what the?
Here.
I thought questionably probable meant, okay, probably got a good chance to play.
It basically means don't ask.
Right, and then he comes out.
I'm not going to give you the truth.
Listed as out.
He said that Jackson and Ragnow are questionably probable. Swift and Awarie are probably questionable. No practice for Jackson and Ragnow. Swift is back at practice. That's what he said.
Yeah, so
you
I must
decipher that.
I must have deciphered it backwards then. I thought when you say probably questionable means he might have a chance to play. When you say questionably probable, that was kind of like, okay, maybe that's good news. Maybe they're going to list him as probable. But no, Frank being out, that's a dagger, man. That sucks. Well, it hurts this week because, last week you had Logan Stenberg at right guard, who I thought did a pretty nice job. He had the 2 false starts, a little shaky there, first time starting, understandable, but played really well in the run game, got a lot of help from Frank in the passing game. I mean, they double-teamed Fletcher Cox pretty much the whole game. Jonah was one-on-one. Now when you go against Washington, you've got John Allen on one side, you got Daron Payne on the other side. It's almost pick your poison with who you want to double team. You know what I mean? You got to count for both of those players. And
thank God Chase Young's not playing.
Right? Yeah, I mean that definitely helps. But they've got a rotation that's very comparable, if not maybe better than Philly. I mean Philly. You talk about Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. Those been generally 2 really good players. I mean they're definitely getting up there in age. But you talk about guys like Daron Payne and John Allen who are in their prime. Those are 2 very premier interior defensive line players in the league. So, I mean, I'd be lying.
Pick? I'm not mad if you do, and I'm not judging you. But if Frank's out and Jackson might not play, and they're already down Vaitai and Vaitai's backup, what the hell are we even talking about?
Yeah, I mean, if we get to game day and, we get to 11:30 and Jonah's out, I would be very concerned. I think I would probably have to flip. So I think that would be enough when you already talk about a 1-point game. That might be enough to flip that line for me. But you know what? Also, the positive thing, I mean, look, they rolled in, 8, 9 different linemen last year, and the run game never really kind of took that major step back. So
right.
I think they were able to overcome a lot of those injuries on the offensive line this year. They were able to do it last year as far as the last week as far as the running game went. With Stenberg in there as right guard. So, look, we know Evan Brown's a very capable player. Is he Frank Ragnow? No, he's not. But last year, based off what we saw, guys plugging in, having to go play a couple snaps, series, or even a game or two, we didn't really see that run game take a step back. So I think that's encouraging.
Rico, do you want me to ask him a serious football question?
No, go ahead, Mike. So TJ,
Okay.
no.
No. This is very serious. Hold on, I owe him.
You ever picked your nose and wiped it on somebody?
So did you dip your
Let me
football
know.
pants in icy hot before the game?
So we sit here and we always perceive when the backup has to play that there's a tangible drop-off. But here's my question. I know it depends player to player. That like Frank Ragnow, the drop-off to the backup has to be bigger than average lineman to his backup. But here's my question. When you have a guy like Frank and then you got to play somebody else, how big of a drop-off is that? Like, we probably overstate it. I know I'm sitting here thinking I'm picking Washington now. You tell me, I mean, look, you got hurt in Green Bay. I remember your foot fell apart one year, whatever it is. Like, how much of a drop-off was it from you to your backup? Is it more or less than the way we perceive it?
It's probably less. Offensive line, look, there's 5 guys, right? Generally, you're blocking 4. So you can really dictate, hey, if we got a weak link here, we can find a way around that to put a tight end next to a weaker tackle or put a running back, on the inside of somebody's shoulder to help them out in the A or B gap. You can usually dictate where you want to double team and where you want to help. So it's probably over, I would say overly concerned. No, I would say people make a concern out of it way more than it is. But look, I think the biggest thing is the small plays, right? You can't afford, a 3rd down and 6, in the red zone and airmail a snap or snap the ball early. Now it's a sack fumble,
right?
Or you miss ID, the linebacker and, the quarterback gets smoked in the back and maybe he's gone, right? So it's those little things that don't really come down to just doing one-on-one blocking your guy, but it's more of when it comes from the center position, it's more about that communication factor. It's more about getting everybody on the same page, know exactly what everybody's doing, so you don't have those little mistakes that add up. And I know, look, we talk about Frank and how great of a center he is, but he was also a guy last week that had 2 really kind of key errors. I mean, there was a 3rd down in the second quarter where he snapped the ball early. You can tell neither tackle moved. Goff was about to get his head ripped off, threw the ball out of bounds. They end up punting. Everybody's saying, well, that's a miscommunication, right? DJ Chark wasn't even looking for the ball. He had to get rid of the ball. It was snapped early. And then you look at the 3rd down late in the game, in the 4th quarter, where he snaps it at the feet, plays all thrown off, the timing's off. They take a sack, punt the ball away. So not trying to bash Frank, but that's just when you talk about centers and when you talk about – oh, stop. But when you talk about, hey, sometimes all it takes is 2 plays – that dictate the game. And so when you're a backup offensive lineman, and especially a center, you want to make sure you don't have those plays because, look, last week, I mean, if they don't get sacked on that 3rd down, do they win the game? I don't know. I mean, probably not, but, you don't want to be responsible for those plays that do go bad where, the other guy, the starter wouldn't have made the same mistake. So that's where it's more of the mental part of it, especially when you talk about a center going in there and just making sure the communication is on point.
So damn frustrating. I'm so sick of this. And TJ's right, Rico. It's always early in the year. Like, we're not even allowed to just get going with a full complement. I can live with the Jamison Williams thing. You drafted him hurt. I can live with a guy or 2 getting hurt. Look at this right now, though. This is all the same position group. And specific, it's all the interior guys.
Okay,
it's crazy.
And, Mike, I want you to experience love and joy and happiness in your life, but it's also why I'm concerned that you already had Swift out for a couple of days this week. Now, he's playing, but that's just concerning because this reminded me of last week when we saw these guys kind of flirting with this and flirting, and then it kicked in and became what we thought, and now you got Ragnow out. So I'm going to be monitoring Swift to see, is this just a pitch count like I hope, or if it's more to it?
Yeah, it's frustrating week 1, too, because you hope to hit the ground running. You hope to, everybody came out of training camp healthy. We didn't have any major injuries during the preseason games, which always seem to happen. At some point, every single team is going to go through some sort of injury bug or have an important position that, you're going to need guys to step up. But what happens this early in the year, which seems like 2-3 years in a row now, it's just like, gosh, dang, man, like, And you're right, Mike, and everything that's we talked about just revolving around this game and how much a week 2 game feels like a must win as it can. You know, you go ahead and throw this in there, and it's just like, God, like why always us? You know, like when can we get a damn break? That's what it feels like.
See, and here's the thing, and I noted this yesterday, fellas, that there was an added toe injury when it came to Ragnow, and according to Dave Burkett, that's why he's missing the game. According to his report, that's the same toe he injured that ended the season last year.
Yeah, that missed,
tremendous.
14 games or
So,
whatever it was.
I don't know if it was turf toe or not, but that's concerning big time for the future of this season.
No, you're right. It is. Anytime you have a repeat injury of something that's been lingering for a while, definitely a concern.
Uplifting.
We'll see where we go from there.
What a blessed moment.
I know. That stinks. I wish I would have left.
Honestly, this sucks. Let's get to who said it, because I give up on everything football related.